But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of your shirt.
A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
It's the worst part of the 9x9, and I hate it so much. Oh, look, we're here. What a surprise. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are finally here and finally rolling. We apologize for the technical disabilities. Rob didn't know how to turn on his camera.
This is all my fault.
This is, I mean, I'm not going to say it's not, but I'm just sitting here while you're trying to figure out your camera and the CEV website. Everything's down. Nothing is working. Rob is
the biggest week of volleyball of the year.
Rob is so mad because his double chin is on full display right now with the up camera instead of the nice one. But it doesn't matter because shit has been going down. This is episode 148. It is March 19th of the best of the 81 square meters of the best volleyball on the internet. This is the 9x9. My name is Everett Delorme in Toronto. That is Rob St. Clair in Chicago. And actually, Rob, I heard a song today. I favorited it where there's a line that goes from like Toronto to Chicago, and I think we should use that as a clip. Get rid of my friggin' ponytail. Get rid of fat Everett and friggin' ponytail, and let's do something different. But man, there has been so much in the world of volleyball as of late. Since our last show, like we've done entire series of the Champions League, both legs. We've had end of like an entire round of playoffs has finished up in the SuperLega. In so many things, we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs in the PlusLiga.
Two major coaches got fired.
Two massive coaches firings from some of the biggest clubs in the world. One of whom, if you are a fan of this show, you must already be elated, and must know how we feel. And vindicated really is kind of the, especially after how we go.
So we're gonna get into all that. A disclaimer off the top: this is probably the most ridiculous week of volleyball of the year. If we go fully in depth with everything we have to talk about, this show will be 4 hours long. So we're not gonna do that. We're gonna keep this moving as fast as is reasonable. But I promise we're not gonna miss anything. Keep the discussion going in the chat and in the Volleyball Source Discord, which you should join. The link's in the description. Make sure you keep everything going there because there is almost too much to talk about to fit it into one show.
There was definitely too much to talk about to fit into one show.
And the other thing, like you alluded to, Everett, the CEV website, as of this very moment, is not working. It's completely dead, and so we have no way to dive into the stats of any of these CEV games.
I have stats for one.
Okay.
Game from today. That's it though. So we'll see if we can get it updated throughout.
CEV, figure it out. By far the best day of volleyball in their entire company's year, and all of their websites are down. But let's start there. Let's start. Yeah. We're going to start with everything CEV. We're going to go competition by competition. We're going to go series by series. We're going to talk about it all.
Let's just start up at the top there. Let's just start right up at the top there with Halkbank going down. And this one was a spicy one. This one was one that was interesting. I mean, Halkbank defended home court wonderfully last week. A wonderful defense of home court, and kind of reminded us all that, like, this team can ball. This team can honestly, Rob, I think one of my themes for this episode in general, Turkey men, good. Turkey women, bad.
Excellent theme. I want to get into more of that on both sides.
But yeah, for this one, Halkbank they just played really simple style of volleyball. Dick Coy made it look like he was 22 years old.
Dude, in both matches in this series, he's been
unreal.
Who did he rob and take their identity?
Seriously.
Like, what's going on?
Maybe it was Marko Sedlicek, and that's why he's been so garbage forever. But yeah, it was just one of those ones where, like, game one was just pure Turkish passion, right? And we know how hard it is to go play at the Turkish teams, right? They have fans, and they're loud, and it's a different atmosphere. And through the first 3 sets of today's game, it was like it really wasn't that good. It was just utter domination, as you see there.
Your headset just disconnected, Everett. So fix that.
How about now?
Yeah, that's better. You got it.
Okay. Yeah. It was and we talked about it, was it last week or maybe the week before, about the mentality of having the advantage, especially when you have that advantage of a full point win going into the golden
we were
set.
talking about it in context of Halkbank's last series. This is the second matchup in a row that they've done this exact same thing.
That's wild.
They get 3 points in the first leg, they get beat for 3 points in the second leg, and then immediately turn around and win a golden set. They've done that the second time in a row, and that's insane.
Yeah, like I think, to me, it comes down to you have a few big game players. Leal, one of them, right? And we saw exactly in the last time that he can kind of turn up and just tune in and become dominant and just become like a high ball outlet guy. And I think Micah Ma'a too, like his show up. And actually, so the stats from today's game is actually some of the few that I have, and I do have the golden set stats here on this. Just looking at the points, 4 points for Dick Coy, 2 for Leal, 2 for Micah. Surprisingly,
yeah, he had 2 aces in a row. I think
both of them aces. Yeah. And but then you just have like all 6 players on the court scoring points, which is unreal. Whereas on the other side of the net, Shalpuk was unreal. He was 3 for 3. And I found too that like some people in the Discord were putting it on Fearlay and saying that like, oh, you shouldn't have been given the ball to Bolange and Bolange, and Brand. But most of those were like out of system situations, right? Like in any in-system situation, what he was doing is he was teeing it up for the middles, and both Semeniuk and Kokonowski were getting their swings. And it was just like, you have that ability to change up their game. Ma'a floats throughout the first 3 sets, pulls out the ripper in the golden set, rips 2 aces, and that's one of the big difference makers, right? So that mentality of being able to play game plan 1 and then switch to game plan 2 once you hit the golden set, it gives you so much advantage.
100%. That's exactly like what we talked about in the last series and big shout out to our guy Peter, who did just send us some stat sheet screenshots on Discord. We appreciate that very much. I'm just pulling those up. When you know that you have the golden set to fall back on, when you know that that's the worst case scenario, is that you go to a golden set, it allows you to do one of 2 things. One is just coast and not really even care about
you have 3 sets to warm up.
Right. You either have 3 sets to warm up and use those 3 sets to like lull your opponent into some false sense of security or some different matchup and then change things entirely in the golden set. Or if you think you have some advantage, you put your foot on the gas, you try and step on their throat and get it done in 2 sets and the series is over. Halkbank now twice in a row has done the first of those 2 options. They have totally laid back. They've eased their opponent into things. They have played it so conservative that it's almost been sleepy until the golden set. On the road in both cases, they turn it on, particularly from the baseline, and they win the thing. It's pretty remarkable. It's definitely not sustainable, except maybe it is because they've done it now twice in a row. I mean, Yoandy Leal won the first golden set from his serving. Micah Ma'a probably won the second one with his serving. And one thing that people in the Discord are pointing out today is the change in Varshava's reception numbers from the match versus the golden set. It dropped significantly and changed everything about their offense. And a lot of that was tactical from Halkbank.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And it really is genius. I mean, it does give you it puts you in a bit of a bad spot, right? Like, especially if you're in Ma'a's case where you float for the first 3 sets and then you pull out the spinner afterwards. Like, what happens if it doesn't click, right? What happens?
Very risky.
There is a little bit of risk there, but like the reward is, Brand was so good throughout the first 3 sets. Bolange was so good throughout the first 3 sets. Like Bolange had 18 points. He was 15 for 27 with 2 blocks and an ace in the first 3 sets.
But then the golden set, both Bolange and Brand hit negative.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's something in that mentality of like, you have to go into that match, understanding that you need to win 4 sets. And I think that mentality is hard in volleyball, right? Like, this isn't tennis where you can go into like those extra sets. Like, you're always going to win 3 sets. But then 2, I think more and more, if you're a team in this golden set situation, you need to have a quick game plan switch that you need to do before 10 points are played in that golden set, right? You need to go in with that golden set, and either you're switching your game plan to try to counter what you think that they're going to go to, or you have something else on deck, right? But those first 10 points are so important in the golden set.
Yeah, first 10 points total. If you give up 2 break points to your opponent in the first 10 points, that's so often that like that's it. That's curtains. And that's kind of the magic of the golden set. And something a discussion I kind of want to get into later is like does this CEV format really reward the best teams, or does the chaos that it sometimes produces, like, is that part of the magic? We can get into more of it later, but like this Halkbank team is the best possible example of a team that to whom the format plays it totally in their favor. This is a very different team in CEV competition because of the format and because of the lack of foreigner constraints, and those two things make a big difference.
Yeah, but like the lack of like everyone has that, everyone has to deal with that. I don't think you get a benefit at all, like especially Italian teams too, right? Italian teams have the most foreigners on them, period.
Yeah, so it's therefore it's less of an advantage in CEV for Italian teams. It's more of an advantage for teams in Poland and Turkey that have more restrictive foreigner limits domestically. And then I really just think the format plays into certain teams' hands, like Halkbank, just the way that they are, the way their team is built, and the way that all they have to do is catch fire for a split second in a golden set, it can work for them, and it has. Like,
but you still have to be able to get there. And
they did. And now the home leg that they played, like you complimented them on, they played awesome and they had a great home crowd. They put themselves in this great position. Mm-hmm. But what I want to get to later is that this Halkbank team didn't even make the playoffs domestically.
Yeah, but I honestly think that we need to do, because big shout out to Rodman's hair, Timmy, because I read his whole breakdown of the Efterliga this year today.
I want to talk about it in a minute.
Yeah, and I honestly think that, like, dude, the Turkish teams are loading up. Like this isn't even the biggest upset today from a Turkish team. Right, like that's the reality of it. This is not the biggest upset today from a Turkish team. So yeah, like I think that when you're looking at Turkey, it's terrible that Arcus is leaving. But yeah, like this is great. So I mean, I honestly think that, like, especially the way that this team is built, like you just have gamers everywhere, and that's a big thing for them.
For sure. Like, you have dudes. You have dudes that like you talked about it with Leal in the last series against Milano, like. There's just the way that dude is built naturally. Nothing that he does in his preparation.
There's no Cuban bullshit. It's Cuban bullshit where they just have the ability to snap and be good.
And it's several dudes on Halkbank are like that.
Shotola is the same.
Shotola is a dude. Mike Ma'a
is a dude. Fucking baller.
Absolutely. And then for some reason, Dick Coy has decided to be a top 10 left side on the planet in Champions League.
I absolutely love it.
And like, speaking of teams like this, or like CEV competition where the sample size is so low that more chaos is possible, from here on out, it's one match only. The sample size is about to decrease even more, which makes Halkbank even scarier.
Yeah. See, part of me was coming into this match, and I was like, okay, good. Like, Warszaw's leading. I want to see them against Perugia. But the more I think about it, I think Halkbank's way more interesting against Perugia.
And they already played in pools. They already played twice, and
they won. They beat. Like, they split that series, didn't they? Like, Halkbank got a win against Perugia. So yeah, I think that's way more interesting. That is kind of what went down for that series. Is there anything else to touch on that?
Nope.
Shotola was sick. Ma'a's a baller. Great stuff all around. The other one, we're going to go into the importance of spiciness. The other one that was a spicy one was Olympiacos putting JW on the line last week. And I'm really mad that we don't have stats because I can't glaze my Canadians. And was 3 specific fantastic Canadian
Gord in leg 1.
Gord was amazing in leg 1. Honestly, Gord has to be one of my all-time favorite Canadian players. He's just, like, you want to talk about a dude? Gord's a dude.
Gord Perrin is a dude.
Gord is an absolute dude.
And he's a dude with that Canadian flavor, that Western Canada, which I love.
Creston, BC, man. That's small town BC. Half that, Actually, I'm not even gonna get into it, but like he's from small town BC. Like that dude is as Canadian as it gets. Like him and Finn McCarthy, they've got the "ooh fuck yeah" bud on them for sure.
Just don't for a rip, are you, bud?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that's more Ontario. They're more,
they're
BC, more way more West Coast. But yeah, just love to see him ball. And like the old men, and it was funny. I was actually talking to Louis Lett during this game, and he was the one commentating it. And through the first 2 sets, he's like, this like in between sets, he's like, yeah, just my luck. I get this one, and I went to go do something else, and I come back, and he's like, well, this turned into a proper game. And I look at the scores like, oh my goodness.
Shit. Yeah. Because JW went up 2-0 on the road in Greece, and those Greek crowds are insane. Like they're so insane that more often than not, when there's a big game, the fans postpone the game by their own like fireworks and pyrotechnic garbage, and like it gets rowdy over there. Yeah. And somehow the walking retirement home that is Olympiacos goes down 0-2 and comes back to beat one of the best teams on the planet. Like that was really cool.
But that's why I think that they have that ability to kind of just pop off. Like they have a collection of guys that, especially if they feel like a little bit of disrespect, that will get them motivated a little bit more.
Totally agree.
Like with Antonisiewicz, Masalovic, Perrin, Trevica, like
Alan Payank in the middle.
Alan Payank, these are guys who will take that offense and can turn it on. And especially with the fiery Athens crowd, you could see that going. Unfortunately, today was not the same.
Nope. Donged.
A big old dong, and you could just tell it early on, like from the jump in that one. You last week, I think you had a situation where a bunch of their guys maybe, looked a little bit like their younger selves, and all at once, and then it just wasn't in the cards for JSW, or sorry, for Olympiacos against one of the best, if not the best team in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, JW is very good. They're very hard to beat at home. They're very steady, stable. Tomasz Fornal went 12 for 18. Timothy Carl was really good. Łukasz Kaczmarek was pretty good. Like they just across the board took command and made the old men look a little bit like old men, which honestly back home in Greece they did not. So credit to JW. That first leg was legitimately really fun. The second leg was a little bit more like what we were expecting. And speaking of what we were expecting, Everett, Zawiercie Lüneburg yesterday.
Ooh, bit of a rough one. Yeah. I'm looking at the stats right now. I honestly only watched the. I had to go sit in the worst Service Ontario basement up in
I tried to talk to you on the phone yesterday, and that did not work very well.
Yeah, no, and that was just as I was getting out there too. They literally they had things on the wall saying that their Wi-Fi, their customer Wi-Fi was down. So I brought my laptop to go sit there do work while I sat there waiting for my license, and I couldn't even do that. It was the worst. So I had to watch this game, just the replays. But damn, Kwolek match high 20 points. The leaders for Lüneburg, Xander and Lorenz Karliczek, a combined 20 points, 10 each. So
yeah, it was over after 2 sets. They both made lineup changes after 2 sets. I think that series just is what it is. Zawiercie is legit scary, and them versus JSW in Łódź in a Champions League semifinal is going to be awesome. It's going to be fireworks, and I can't wait for it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll break down these semifinals in a little bit.
Oh yeah, we'll do this much later.
Did you forget to add Perugia to that?
No, they haven't played.
You're right. You're right. I mean, they're gonna win, but
we think they're gonna win.
Imagine. Imagine. That would just be the greatest story.
That would be hysterically funny if Perugia did not beat Monza tomorrow, but that match is tomorrow. So that's it for Men's Champions League. 3 of our 4 semifinalists are in. 2 of them are Polish, but not 3, as we thought. And we'll talk about the rest of the bracket and preview it in a little bit. All right. Women's Champions League, Everett. Our semifinalists are set here. 3 of them are expected. Conegliano and Scandicci, we don't even need to talk about their series. Real quick, Milonza donged Eczacıbaşı. All they needed was the first 2 sets. Both the first 2 sets were very close. Eczacıbaşı choked them both. I think they had late leads in both. I wish I could look at the stats. Thanks, CEV. But yeah, this was last week. But I watched all this game. I remember it decently well. And Eczacıbaşı choked those first 2 sets. But oh my goodness, we've got to spend some time on an all-time instant classic.
All-time.
The storylines and the history.
Who's got stats for this one, guys?
Yeah, if somebody has stats for VakıfBank versus Fenerbahçe last week, Wednesday, including a golden set, please send them our way right now. I remember a couple things, but oh my goodness, the historical significance.
Woo!
A couple things I want to tell you all right off the bat, Everett. First and foremost, Fenerbahçe allegedly has paid approximately €1.5 million to host this year's Women's Champions League Final Four, only to get beat at home by Fenerbahçe or by VakıfBank in a golden set. This is truly insane. This is the 4th Champions League in a row where Fenerbahçe has been beaten in a golden set at home. 3 of those 4 are by VakıfBank. The other one was by Conegliano either last year or the year before. Imagine that. You build that roster with those athletes, and you get into CEV. There's no foreigner constraints. 4 years in a row, losing at home in a golden set, 3 of which are to your crosstown rival, including this year, who you are way better than on paper. That is like historic. It's honestly a historic level of choke from Fenerbahçe. Can it be described as anything else?
No, it can't be. Like, and especially when you look at this Fenerbahçe roster and how they're constructed and everything that they're trying to do, and then just like the continuity of it, right? This is not a VakıfBank team that like this is not a VakıfBank team, as much as I love watching them play, that is like those other VakıfBank teams.
Not even close.
It is a large step down from what we're used to from those in gold and black. It's interesting too, because literally in between right before watching this game, I was editing some of like a Guidetti interview, and I'm very interested in this, man. I'm very interested in this, man. That's gonna be taken out of context. Pause.
But if you are Canadian and you watch this match and you watch Giovanni Guidetti coach circles around Fenerbahçe's entire program, and you watch Kira Van Rijk play like that in the biggest possible moment, you've got to be real excited about the Maple Volleys women's program, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Unbelievable.
Like, this game was pure passion, and like this is where I think you see someone like Guidetti, who like Guidetti has been with VakıfBank since 2008, right? Like he is the 3rd all-time winningest Champions League coach all time, 1st all time in the modern era, right? Those other guys like were winning more than him in like the 70s and 80s. Like this is the all-time winningest coach in the Champions League in the modern era, with stuff that actually matters, and athletes who are actually real, like no offense to the athletes playing back in the 70s and the 80s. You just don't stack up to the athletes that we have now.
Not even
right?
close.
So this is someone who knows how to win and knows how to play those mind games. And that's exactly what it was. And then on the Kira side of things, like I think, Canadians, if you're a Canadian fan, you don't watch that and be like you're not that watch that and be surprised, because we've seen her do that time and time again. Her consistency may be a little bit off, right? She may not be one of those elite that can deliver that on a regular basis, but she's no Vasil Chuchi out here. Like she can do that on a somewhat generous clip, like I think maybe every 5 or 6 games out of 10 of Kira, you're going to get those up games. And that was one of them. And you know what, like Markova, actually someone did send us the stats here.
So Markova, when we were talking about this series, Everett, I said that the only way VakıfBank would have a chance was if Marina Markova was the best player on either team. And in this match on the return leg, she was. Yes. 31 points. 31.
Unreal.
And the thing is too that all Fenerbahce needed to advance was 2 sets. They won the first set, then got beat in 4 sets in a row. They had like game point, so to speak, in the series in 4 sets in a row and got beat in all 4 of them at home. And the way it really felt to me, Everett, was it was a team that beat a collection of great individuals. And that was no more true than that golden set, because I think Fenerbahce led 6-2. And VakıfBank went on some ridiculous run to come back.
Jan
Jinwei was unbelievable.
10 points, and 6 aces.
It's been a long time since I've seen a middle in the women's game serve the ball that well. Zehra Güneş had almost double-digit blocks, I think. 9 blocks in the 5 sets, which is insane.
Yeah.
Cansu Uzbay had a massive service run, and she wasn't even the starting setter throughout the entire game. Like, that was a team in VakıfBank, a team that was galvanized by their head coach that beat a collection of great individuals on the other side of the net from them. And that was just cinema to watch it. It was amazing.
I think when you play for a club like VakıfBank too, that has that continuity and has that history of success, it may be one of the few things. It's almost like maybe like playing for like a Trentino, where it's like it's one of those few things that maybe comes close to the pride of playing for a national team. Like you're playing for that history, like you're playing for an organization and a club that probably impresses that a lot into you.
Totally.
Like I would love to go to Turkey and just like kind of see how they operate, because I'm sure it's a world-class club. And there's a lot of people. I think we do have to talk about the other side of the net on this one, where it was just not a great match all around by Fenerbahce. And I do think that, like, going back to your golden set comment earlier, I think I'm actually going to disagree, because like you have to get the job done, to me. Like you have to go out there and get the job done. And like if you're not ready to play, like, it's especially in this case, like Fenerbahce, you need to win 1 set. All you needed to do is win one more set, and you got swept by 4 straight sets. Like
foregone.
Like it's the same thing that people complain about, like a winner take all, like 1 game situation. Like, you got to get the job done. You got to get the job done, and we don't have time to do a best of 3 series in the Champions League. Right? That's just the reality of it. Right? There's no other scenario where we get a golden set either. So I absolutely embrace it. I love it. Hey, if you're not ready for the bright lights of the golden set, then you shouldn't be ready to win a championship.
I totally agree with that. That is when this format, these 2-match home and away series, they produce magic. Is this golden set when the lights are the brightest, when the tension is the highest, when the margin of error is the thinnest. In all of volleyball, it doesn't get closer or more intense than that unless you happen to get into a 5th set in like a national team gold medal game or whatever. It just doesn't get better than a golden set in club. The magnitude of it is huge, and it separates the players who can handle that from those that can't. And I think the biggest issue to me for Fenerbahce was the setter position. Bojana Durca was not good down the stretch in that match. She has 3 of the greatest high ball hitters on the planet to give the ball to, and just consistently made bad choices and located the ball poorly to those great players. When you needed 1 out of 4 sets at home, it's crazy that they couldn't get that done, and that this pattern has continued for Fenerbahce's club. Dude, 4 years in a row losing a golden set at home.
For a club like Fenerbahce too.
Right.
Like, if you look at that roster with Fedorutseva, with Vargas, I'm sorry, your backup opposite is Magdalena Stizia.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who should be on a team, like, we're on a team of her own. I really don't get that. To me, it has to be like, you must love being like in the shadow of someone, which is crazy because you're literally taller and bigger than everyone else. Not bigger, sorry, I didn't mean like that, but you're literally taller than and everyone else, and you're so good. You're so damn good. I love watching. Like, when we got to see Stizia play for Poland at the VNL, I loved watching her play. but yeah, like I think when you look at this Fenerbahce team, there's two things I want to say. I think we've seen it a little bit, especially over this past year, that this cohort of Turkish talent, right? This drive for the Turkish volleyball to be amongst the best in the world, which I think it is, but it just hasn't really proved themselves. Like they do really good when they're dominating everyone else, but as soon as there's a little bit of pushback, that's when everything kind of falls apart. And I'm waiting to see them kind of take that next step into being within the elite. Because yeah, like I think that this one, especially like Gunesh was fantastic, but like if you look who stepped up between Markova and Kiera Van Rijk,
the middles, and Katarina
Gu-
Bossetti in backcourt defense.
Bossetti was unreal.
She scored
man.
1 point in 5 sets, but she actually has an MVP case for how good she was in defense.
So good. Yeah, you know, I love that. They just played a little bit like I love when a team just leans into that. You know, like you are just gonna like we're essentially gonna have 2 liberos out there.
Yep.
You know, just honestly, it kind of reminded me of Trinity Western beating McMaster in the 2016 CIS National Championships when it was Stephen Marr against Ryan Sclater. So it was just like, hey, like we know where our bread is buttered. We know who's putting the meat in the sandwich. So let's just make sure that the guys who are out there chopping it all up for us are doing a good job, and just like we're just going to focus in on the defense, and that's what they did. You love to see it.
It was awesome. I've been waiting for a women's volleyball match like that all year, and boy, did we get it. And the last thing I'll say here, Everett, is we had for the longest time the Polish volleyball Olympic quarterfinals curse on the men's side.
Yes,
the Fenerbahce golden set curse is officially a very, very real thing. It's a very, very real thing until proven otherwise. That program cannot win a golden set, and I won't believe that they can until they prove me wrong next year.
Oh, I'm fully on board with that. That's not even a stretch at all. Well, the other thing I was going to say too, Rob, is how robbed are we by the fact that we don't get to see Markova and Fedorovtseva play on the same team?
God, that would be gross. Like Arina Fedorovtseva is the best server on the planet, in my opinion, and I think the second best overall outside hitter on the planet. Marina Markova, in like a year and a half of playing pro, has launched herself easily into the top 5 outside hitters in the world conversation.
Easily.
Like what is she? 22, if that?
Yeah, I'm going like right now I'm going Gabby Fedorovtseva, Li Ying.
Yeah, Markova 4. Like that. You can't put anyone else above her. She is so good, and I think she has that it factor already that you can rely on her when the lights are the brightest and when you need a point in a big moment. She's awesome. And like to do it with her frame too, like she might be the skinniest player I've ever seen.
Yeah, but she's just a whip though.
She's awesome.
Like, she's just a whip. I love it.
She's awesome.
I absolutely love it. Just the speed of her arm is so deadly. She's kind of like an assassin out there too. She just hits it like, I want to see it in person. I want to see
it. Dude.
I want to see her. I want to see her and just straight hitting balls just out there. Love it.
Hell of a series. So the semis are set on the women's side. Milonza Conegliano is one side. That will be very interesting. Scandicci, VakıfBank on the other side, I also think will be really interesting. Kind of a battle of those next opposites up. Antropova versus Van Rijk. Obviously, Markova is going to have a massive part to play in that series. VakıfBank will be the only Turkish team playing there in Istanbul against 3 Italian teams. So I'm very much looking forward to that, but I think we can preview that down the road, like closer to the event.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably always going to be the case, unless Eczacıbaşı found something. They looked bad.
They were disgusting to watch, and we can talk about them in a little bit. Let's move down to the CEV Cup competition.
Yeah, let's keep it moving to what was. Hey, we talked about how today was one of the best days for Turkish men. This one's right here. Trentino was able to salvage round 1 at home against against Ziraat Bank. I want
a reverse sweep.
How many like the fact that we have 2 legit clubs that start with Z, like that's crazy. That's wild. Volleyball's weird. But this is kind of where things started for Trentino. And honestly, like I wonder how much they prepared for this. I wondered how much they prepared for this. Did they even know that Ziraat Bank is leading the Everett League? Did they even know who was on the other team? Because I didn't watch this match, but I did watch. I did go back and watch some of today's matches, and like, what happened, Trentino?
Dude,
what happened?
So
what happened?
I have an opinion on what happened in the first leg in Italy, where I'll put that back up on screen. Trentino went down 0-2. They lost some like weird sets and extras in sets 1 and 2. I think the second set had like a weird call that didn't go their way. And it looked like to me it kind of pissed Trentino off and woke them up and forced them to start taking the series a little bit seriously, which I agree with you. If you look at this Ziraat Bank roster and the money that they've been pouring into their men's volleyball program the last couple seasons, like it would be impossible not to take them seriously when you just look at what's going to be in front of you. Trevor Kleveno, Matt Anderson, Wouter Termat, like pretty solid middles, the best Turkish setter, and Yeni Pazar. Like, I don't know what really happened there, but Trentino definitely did wake up in the second half of the match at home. Today, though, I was actually legitimately impressed by Ziraat Bank's coaching and game plan. They said, okay, Alessandro Micheletto, you are the best player on the planet. It is okay if you beat us. We are going to make very, very sure that every other player on Trentino's roster cannot.
Great call. Yeah.
They deleted Daniele Lavia from the game. They deleted Kamil Roglitsky from the game so quickly that, like, I think Gabi Garcia came in late in the first set. Like that was never the opposite position was deleted from the game within half of a set. And they said, okay, Micheletto, cool, do you, dude. Like, even if we spend resources trying to slow you down, it might not work because you're so good. Somebody else on Trentino, I dare you to beat us. And they couldn't.
Lavia was bad.
He was terrible.
Lavia was bad. His efficiency is god awful. Thank God he was making up for it a little bit in the blocking wise. But it just seemed to me like they were just a little lackluster, just dragging their feet. And I mean, I will remind you guys, like, Trentino's on a 2-game skid here.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
If Trentino gets double relegated in the same week, like, what is happening? If we are on the cusp here. I know we'll talk about it in a minute, but we'll have to say it. We are on the cusp potentially of Trentino getting eliminated from all volleyball playoffs in the funniest way possible.
They would have to lose 2 more matches to Cisterna, but that would be really.
Oh, you're right. It's not.
It's best of 5. That would be
best of 5.
But I didn't think they would lose any to either of these teams, and sure enough, here we are. Wouter Termat was really good today after not being super good in the first leg, and Trevor Kleveno was just the man. I kind of saw that glimpse of that little French fire, those looks through the net, that like little bit of cocky confidence, like toeing that line that the French national team loves to do. And it was exactly what the doctor ordered for Ziraat Bank today. It was legitimately really fun to watch. And so now they're going to play in the final of the CEV Cup, and Halkbank's going to the Champions League Final Four. I agree with you. The winners of today, Turkish men's volleyball for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt, 100%. Also, those Ziraat Bank jerseys are nice.
They're fresh.
They're really good looking. Moving forward through the CEV Cup, on the other side, we had a really good one last time, but this one, Tools did make it interesting. They did make it interesting. They had it set points in the first. You thought they were, Resovia came out swinging. Tools brought it back. They had a 2-point lead, and they're up like 25-20 or 24-21, 24-20, something like that.
I forget.
And then just started, or it was 23-20. And then they just started choking it away. You got a double contact, double hit from your setter to tie it up 23-23. And they tried to fight back. I mean, Sclater was unreal in the first round, and they were just ready for him in round 2, right? Like, Sclater isn't a guy who's going to be able to score efficiently on high ball sets
when everybody in the gym knows the ball's going.
When everyone in the gym, like, he's not playing at Trinity Western anymore. He's playing against Resovia, and Resovia is also the hottest team in the world right now.
Is that true in the chat? I know that they're on a crazy streak.
Yeah,
16 in a row overall.
Yeah, they haven't lost since like January 4th or January 6th.
That is completely outrageous.
They're 16-1 in 2025.
Oh my God.
Remember when they sucked?
I do remember when they sucked. They sucked in like kind of embarrassing fashion the first half of the year, but boy, are they doing anything but. Stéphane Boyer, as of right this moment, is, if not one of the best players in the world, he's definitely the hottest player in the world. And we can talk. He put up a number in the PlusLiga over the weekend that is historic. It's never been done before. We'll talk about that later, but he's playing amazing. The issue, though, Everett, is that today in this match, Bartosz Bednor's rolled his ankle. He's had his own health issues this year, but he's been amazing since coming back lately. I've definitely got my eye on how healthy he is going into the PlusLiga playoffs, but like Resovia versus Ziraat Bank is a really fun CEV Cup final. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good. I mean, I may almost like that more than Resovia against Trentino.
It's more volatile for sure. Like
that's exactly why I like it a little bit more. I don't know how to call this one.
The CEV Cup should be a volatile competition.
100%.
It's like perfect for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of volatile competitions, let's just go on to the next one, Rob, which is the reason why this show is so damn late. Luk Lublin, congratulations. You have just won your first ever European trophy in what was one of the craziest games to watch, where I thought we were imminently going to a golden set. And then all of a sudden, this game changed. They fought off 5 different match points in set number 3. What was it, like 38,
36
in the third there to keep them alive? And then, Rob, after that, it just seemed like the entire Lube game plan just deflated a little bit. You know, they were on the cusp. Lublin won that set, and then they were just executing maybe 10% less out of exasperation, desperation, and Lublin took full advantage.
That's a great assessment. I will say for sure that this is the best CEV Challenge Cup final I have ever seen. And it's going to be a long time until 2 teams that are this good meet in the finals of this competition ever again. Like the teams were great. The matches on both sides, like the leg in Poland last week was just as good. Like Lublin winning that 4th set tight in order to get those 3 points and set this up. Like this was as good as the CEV Challenge Cup can possibly be. If you didn't watch it, you really missed out. Go back and watch some highlights. But Lublin deserves a ton of credit. That everything changed late in the 3rd set for sure. Like you said, Lube, you said what, 5 match points ish that you said?
I thought it was 5. Yeah.
And to force a golden set at home, they had that many chances in that overtime in the 3rd, and they couldn't quite do it. And Lublin deserves tremendous credit. Mateusz Malinowski off the bench, the lefty opposite in for Kevin Sasak, made a big difference. And then when the point needed to be made, Wilfredo Leon was the guy, and that's why he has a case to be the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, he was outstanding. I wish we had stats. Did anyone hit us some stats on this one? I was up until like it seems like all of my points in this one are for Lube, because it felt like there was 3 sets of them dominating and me getting ready to talk about how good they were, and then they
were good.
A little bit, like half a set in the later, like not even half a set, but there was just 1 set where they were just a little lesser. I thought their blocking was outstanding. Yeah. Their ability to touch everything in that changed. I mean, like once again, Lube was down 24-23 in the first.
Yeah, they were.
And they had to force a bit of a comeback and take things over. Their blocking was outstanding. And not only with the number of stuff blocks that they got, but just the amount of their whole game plan. And whenever in big situations, like they were able to slow down Leon. And everything geared in their game plan was able to slow down Leon and to slow down Kevin Sasak. And that's the thing. Lublin has that offense that goes a little bit higher. There's just a little bit of Lublin, has a little bit of a higher offense. And it seemed like Lube's block was all over it. And they would just get this momentum. I thought Lagumja, even though on the stat sheet, he wasn't one of the big guys, had a really good game. He would come in with key aces and key blocks and make big digs. But ultimately, I felt that Lublin just did a really good job. And once again, if you win that first leg of just waiting things out and being a little bit patient and letting their game plan come to them. And then once the detail-oriented fashion of Lube's block kind of broke down a little bit, that's when Lublin went in for the kill. Yeah. That's when, like, the big factor is, like, you have to give Leon the MVP in this one, especially for that serving run that he had in that fourth set. His ability to turn it on, sense, you know what, this animal
smelled blood in the water.
This animal's a little bit wounded. Let's fucking go for it. I'm gonna go for it, and it was unreal. And you know what, I like that. Either way, I had a Canadian winning a medal today, so I was down with that. And unfortunately, we didn't really see Lepke in this match. Someone was like trying to chirp me and be like, "Oh, Everett's sad that Lepke didn't win." I was like, "Bro, Lepke didn't play. They would have won if Lepke played. Suck it. That's what would have happened. That's my story. I'm sticking to it."
Got that ammunition ready to go.
On the other side, the Canadian that did play, Finn McCarthy, got the dub. So yeah, honestly. As you said, the best Challenge Cup series
for sure
that we've seen in a long time.
So much fun to watch. The one regret that I have is that they had to play that totally meaningless fifth set. that fifth set was so meaningless, and it was in Italy, and Lube had lost the tournament at that point, and the crowd left, and Lublin was like trying to celebrate a trophy with nobody there, and like they already done some of the celebrating at the end of the fourth, and then they had to waste their time playing more volleyball and like whatever. I understand, but the 8 sets of volleyball up until that point were awesome.
Really good.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good. Lublin is it's too bad because like their roster is pretty much out. I don't think they're making that many upgrades because I really think that this team has the basis of things to do some good things. I think Nikolai Savicki has been good. Is so good for them. He adds such a different offensive component, and this is also where I think that they had a little bit more success in the third compared to the first and second, where they weren't just going to that high ball outlet. They were working Savicki on the inside a little bit. Like they're playing with his movement along the net way more. Like they were setting him inside or they're going outside, and he was able to kind of like push him all the way to the pin, and he would just dump it down. Like he had that 1-2-handed dump down the line, which I'm not usually a fan of, but the way he executed was perfect. I think he just rounds out their roster quite a bit. And the fact that they have Benny Toonstar to go to on the bench is fantastic as well.
Yeah, solid option. Yeah, very fun. We'll talk about Lube Civitanova more in a little bit, but like I wouldn't say they have anything to be ashamed of. That was an awesome match, and it's kind of a shame that somebody had to lose, but huge congratulations to Lublin. Big deal for their club for sure. The last CEV match to talk about isn't even a match. Novara beat THY last week. Novara will go to and win the CEV Cup women's final because they're going to play a Romanian team, and we're not going to bother talking about it until we can congratulate them on winning the trophy officially. So that's enough of that. But Everett, I have 2 questions for you, kind of like the macro CEV level. First of all, what's your opinion on the effect of the CEV format and like the results that we get out of CEV teams that are so different than those teams play domestically, both in both directions? Like on one side, you get Roma, a team that literally got relegated, wins the Challenge Cup on the women's side. You have Monza, who is the Monza men, 1 point away from relegation in the SuperLega on the men's side. They win their Champions League pool. Halkbank Ankara, they don't make the playoffs in the Efler League. They're going to the Final Four, right? Okay. Then you have...
We get it.
Well, then you have Trentino, who chokes internationally. You have like Warsaw, who is a world-class team. They didn't get as far. Does that to you say that Champions League has some, like, is that the magic of Champions League, or is it like of Mickey Mouse-ness of Champions League?
No, because because you see this in Champions League in football or soccer as well too. Get over your hate for the biggest sport in the world. We know that just the worst. Yeah, it just Mickey Mouse is your favorite sport in the biggest way. You have a Mickey Mouse sport that one country plays. Like it's the foreigner rule. Right. I think that is a big thing, that in these different countries, all of a sudden that you can play maybe a little bit different style than you're used to. B, I think it's the fact that depending on where you are in your season, that might be what you're focusing on, right? For Roma, I just think it's just pure piss and vinegar.
Desire. Your headset's disconnected again, by the way. I wanted to bring this up, not because I think that all CEV tournaments are Mickey Mouse, but I honestly tend to agree with you. I think it's the magic of it. I think it's like the format is different, the calendar is different, there are no foreigner limits, the sample size is smaller, and you get fun, entertaining, chaotic volleyball, and the teams that don't prioritize that get punished. I think Trentino is a great example, similar to them blowing it to a Brazilian team in the Club World Championship that they flew across the world for back in the fall. Like if you don't prioritize competitions like this, you're going to lose
100%. And like you need to find it in you to get up for these games. And I think that for these big teams, it's easy for a Trentino. It's easy to just look at a team like Ziraat Bank and be like, we don't really need to prepare for this all of that much. And then I just think that there's just a little bit of different magic when playing in the Champions League. Like it just brings a little. It's like the playoffs, right? You're playing against the best of the best, and it's just going to bring the best from those players. So yeah, no, I absolutely love it. That's why we play the game.
I love it too. That's exactly right. We play the game on the court, not on paper, for a reason. The next thing I want to talk about, Everett, is on your kind of theme for the show, that great day or great week for Turkish men's teams, not a good week for Turkish women's teams. I want to point out the 5 Turkish women's teams you see here in the standings that played CEV competition, how that ended for them. All right. Number 1 in the league, number 1 in the Sultan League, Fenerbahçe, beaten in a golden set at home for the 4th year in a row. Eczacıbaşı, totally predictable, but just as embarrassing, flame out in the Champions League quarters, then promptly fire the coach, which we'll talk about in a minute. VakıfBank, best franchise top to bottom, less talent, but they're the only one still standing. Galatasaray in 4th, lost to a team that then got beat by a relegated team in CEV. That's embarrassing. THY 6-dong by Novara in CEV. So I don't know what the solution is for Turkish women's teams necessarily to have more, to have more success in CEV competition. Maybe it's you increase the foreigners by 1 to match up with Italy, but to the people in our community and to the Turkish fans that watch this show that were commenting about how much better the Sultanlar Ligi is than the LegaVolley Femminile.
It's funny too, because Peter just wrote in the chat too, as you're doing this chat, like Turkish league surpassing Italian league too. You sure about that, bud?
Sure? those people are awfully quiet.
By what metrics?
People are awfully quiet.
Thoughts and prayers.
The Turkish fan base is awfully quiet.
Yeah, no, I don't. There's the Italian league, like definitely in years past, like there was reasons to question, but there's no question. There's no doubt about it right now. I'm sorry, but the only Turkish team to win their round basically had to play against another Turkish team.
And the inferior Turkish team won. It's like the team that actually had a chance to win the Champions League, which was Fenerbahçe, got embarrassed at home in a golden set for the 4th year in a row. Like it's tough. I would not like to be a Turkish women's league fan right now. Yeah, no, the Turkish women are struggling. Yeah. Honestly, I think, Rob, if we were to compare the rosters of these teams from this year to last year, what I think the big difference is the lack of Americans. Definitely part of it. You've talked about it a lot
except for Eczacıbaşı.
Yeah, for women's volleyball as a whole, that's definitely making a difference. I will say that some of like the mid-tier teams in Turkey are more capable of beating the top teams than they have been in years past, but losing that, like, not like the Olympian American talent, but like the one level beneath that used to play in Turkey a lot, that definitely hurts. But a lot of those Italian teams in the middle of the pack in Italy also lost those players.
Yeah, but I think like Kuziboro doesn't push Eczacıbaşı like Valfolia pushed Milano.
I would probably agree with that. Yeah.
All right. So is that it for CEV?
That's it for CEV. So while we're kind of talking about the Turkish women, I think it's time to talk about this. That after the Milonza 6-donging and I think it was right after playing Galatasaray domestically, right before the very last game of the Sultanlar Ligi regular season, which is tomorrow. Eczacıbaşı versus VakıfBank, which will be good. Eczacıbaşı pulled the trigger finally and fired head coach Ferhat Akbaş. Now, it's very interesting. Like in any sport, when you make a coaching change in the middle of the season, it's never because anything is going well. But it is always funny to me to hear like the excuses that they make in their public press releases for why they dismiss the coach instead of being he sucks and the team sucks. In this case, it's like, oh, Ferhat Akbaş is going to coach the Japanese women. Therefore, we don't think we want him to continue coaching the rest of this season. One match before the playoffs. Like, what a joke.
That is unreal to me, Rob. And the fact that he's going to coach the Japanese women is bad too. I think that's just a bad fit.
It's a train wreck.
I think it's a bad fit. And I mean, I think you saw today why, or not today, but in this episode, basically, of why Guidetti has done. Like, I think this is why I think Italian volleyball is going to be miles ahead of Turkish volleyball on the women's side for a while, is because all of the best coaches are Italian.
For sure.
Right. Like, you go up, like, find me another women's volleyball coach who's a non-Italian who's good.
Karch Karai, and now he coaches on the men's side.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. You're not wrong. It's that is a big time disparity. That is a big time disparity.
Big time disparity.
And Eczacıbaşı is a great franchise. They obviously have a lot of resources. They have good history, but they have to do something to get rid of this culture of blowing it in the big moments, and of like, well, it's not just losing in the big moments, it's of like kind of embarrassing themselves. And in this year, in that Milonza series, that's what they did. That was an embarrassment.
Yeah, I feel like he just has no feel for game. Like, the fact that Turkey had potentially the ability to go with, like, remember back when they were looking for a coach before they got Santarelli? People were saying that Akbaş should be the coach of Turkey.
It was damn close to that being a thing.
It was that close.
Then he went to Croatia and they got relegated from VNL immediately. Like,
yeah, like, I don't know. And I have a really hard time judging coaches from the sidelines, because there's been too many times. I think Piazza is like a perfect example of like me calling him a stooge, and then I got to see him in action. I was like, oh no, this guy, like,
I kind of get this guy.
I kind of get this guy. He's my type of guy, you know.
But Ferhat Akbaş, like, what? How does this keep happening? Like, it's so classic volleyball to just like, it's like the Andrea Anastasi example. He keeps bouncing around and getting jobs and underperforming with teams just because he's a known name. We've got to stop doing this and start hiring coaches based on actual merit. Because if you look at Ferhat Akbaş's track record, and I was a Japanese women's volleyball fan, I would be terrified.
I think there's two different things that happen here. One, and bro, we're going way too deep into this, but whatever. One, I think that in Italy, everything is run by boomers, right? So their ability to identify new good talent or whatever it is,
impossible.
0%, right? All they do is they have a pool of maybe like 15 to maybe 20 coaches, and then once guy, like they just keep on going in, right? And they just keep on eating their own recyclables. In Italy, it's boomerism. Everywhere else, it's just the fact that volleyball is volleyball and no one gives a shit.
Right.
Right. And it's just like even as like a national team coach, I'm sure, like the fact that he got hired, like Akbaş got hired by like Japan, like who's there, like understanding how he coaches or like knowing his philosophy, like it's so random. And I think it's just because there's no information about volleyball, and volleyball is volleyball. I need to put that on a t-shirt. Volleyball is volleyball.
And in this particular case, volleyball is not a good thing.
No, volleyball is volleyball is very much a bad thing.
Yeah, it's why the CEV on the biggest day of their entire year, their entire website goes down. Great example. Arrivederci, Ferhat Akbaş. See you later. Thanks for participating. I wanted to hit a storyline or two on the Turkish men's side before we move on to some other stuff. We'll do this really quick. We've mentioned a couple of times that Halkbank Ankara missed the playoffs in the Efeler Ligi, and that's mostly because in Turkey, they only take 4 teams, which I think is a little bit crazy. And it is a bummer for how dramatic their playoffs could potentially be. But sure enough, Halkbank did miss out on the playoffs in Turkey by 1 point. So a team that's going to the Champions League Final Four, not even in the Final Four of their own league. Crazy. How that happened was a story that I don't think we've done the best job of highlighting this year. And that's the Arkas Izmir story.
I think we talked about it. We talked about it on the Hop when it first came out.
Yeah, we did.
September or October.
And they've had some moments this year, but it's really important to remind people that like Arkas Izmir's club has announced that they're practically ceasing existence. They're dropping down to the 3rd division next year.
No. They're not. They're definitely not ceasing existence.
They're ceasing participation at the highest levels. Like they can't do it anymore.
Because so I found this out. Like, so if you don't know this and you live under a fucking rock, Glenn Hogue, who I will give you a preview. Guidetti called Glenn Hogue, and Guidetti and Glenn Hogue know each other from their years and years in Turkey together. Guidetti called Glenn Hogue one of the top 3 men's volleyball coaches of all time, which blew my mind. But Glenn Hogue is actually opting to stay in Arkas and continue working with the club, and continue being like he will continue to be more of like a sport advisor for them. But yeah, he's going to continue for them like that.
Even though they're going to lose all their resources.
But they're not losing their resources, and this is where I think you don't understand this. Is they're not losing their resources. Is that they're taking their resources away from competition and just putting them all into their development program. And like Chemi and Berkay have done such a fantastic job. Like I've talked to them quite a bit about it in the Turkey section, where they made a list of the athletes that have come through the Arkas development system, and it's essentially a list of the Turkish national team, right? It is essentially a list of the Turkish national team, and it's the same thing. Like if you go through the rosters of Halkbank, of Fenerbahçe, of the big clubs, like of Ziraat Bank, their best Turkish players came through the Arkas system, and they're just looking to take some of those, like, of course, like it's not like they're going to be using all of those resources. They're just going to be spreading them out, but they're just not using them towards competition, and they're just focusing on the development piece. And that's where they're going to start try to develop more coaches under Glenn Hogue, try to develop more athletes under Glenn Hogue. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens.
I've never heard of a franchise making that strategic choice, so I'm very interested in it as well. But in their team's swan song, their last go at it as a top-tier Turkish men's team, they made the playoffs in super dramatic fashion. They beat Halkbank head-to-head in 2 matches ago, and Gerard Grozer is doing just ridiculous things statistically. And then they beat Fenerbahçe in 5 this weekend to get in the playoffs by 1 point. So, like, the Arkas story as, like, not just a Cinderella, because they're rarely in the top 4 of the league, like, contending to win titles. Usually they're like the 4th best team, or the team with the 4th best roster on paper. But now not only are they in the playoffs, they're in their playoffs in their last season really at this level. And it's incredible. And they knocked Halkbank out of the picture in order to do so. I just thought that was really cool.
You love to see it.
It's pretty cool.
But ultimately, because they're leaving, Halkbank will take over their that 4th CEV spot.
Okay, that would make sense. Just pass it down to the next team on the list. All right. Before we move on to a lot of the other leagues, real quick break to talk about something important, and it's Daddy. It's Daddy Stankovic. Don't worry. This has been a crazy day. It's been a lot of volleyball. It's been a ridiculous show. I had a bunch of issues getting things ready for this show. Daddy is still hidden somewhere. Y'all better keep an eye out, because we hide Daddy somewhere in every show, and y'all got to try and find him. When you find him, you comment the timestamp of where he is in the main YouTube comment section after the show's over, not in the live chat. And if you did that on last week's show, you may have noticed when we were talking about men's uSports that the Saskatchewan Huskies got a new mascot. Did you notice this, Everett?
I did notice this one live. I noticed this one.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is a good one. I just really like the way that he looked with the pointy husky ears poking up out of his head. So this is a good one. A couple people found him right away. Ozzy Tragic says, Daddy joining the Sask Huskies with my Brisbane boys, Jacob Baird and Jefferson Morrow. I guess there's some Aussie's playing there. So shout out to you, Aussie. He's
also like, I would never want to play favorites in terms of volleyball teams, but there's a lot of coaches I like at nationals going this weekend, but Sean McKay has to be one of my favorite guys, mostly because he listens to the show, and he might be listening right now. So big shout out to Sean McKay and the Sask Huskies, who are actually probably in Brandon.
Well, may the spirit of Daddy Stankovic bring the Sask Huskies success.
If they win a medal this weekend, we're like, it's a daddy medal for sure.
100%.
If they win a medal, we'll bring Sean onto the show and bestow him with a daddy medal
and ask him what effect the spirit of Daddy Stankovic had on his team. I love it. Yeah. So keep an eye out for Daddy in the show. When you find him, commented below.
Like Saskatchewan, you've been blessed by Daddy.
Y'all don't understand how big of a deal that is.
You know what? I will say this, and I know we're going to talk a little uSports later, but last year I was bulletin board material for the wrong reasons for a specific team. At nationals. Guelph did not like last year that I said that I would have preferred a fourth team from the Canada West. Still stand by that, although they did prove why they were there against Trinity Western in that 5-6 match or whatever it was. But hopefully I can be a little bit of bulletin board material for the Huskies in a positive way this year.
I'll be rooting for them because Daddy is with them, and I root for Daddy. Speaking of Daddy, it's time to talk about Italy. I can't believe it took us so long to the show to get into the Italian playoffs. This is how ridiculous this week has been.
No, because like we need to start like on the top with that. There's one thing that we need to start with before the playoffs. Yes. And I mean, that's how crazy this week has been, because if you like, when I was looking at the thing, I was like, where's Stoychev? That needs to be on the top. But then everything that happened in the Champions League, it couldn't be. But after, you know what? Verona finally must have tuned into the show. That's all I have to say, because wow.
In the middle of a playoff series, and now, while the official press release said that Radostin Stoychev resigned as head coach of Verona, we do not believe that bullshit for a second. Nobody ever resigns in the middle of a playoff series, especially when Radostin Stoychev knew very well, like we talked about on last week's show, that his job was gone after this season anyway. This was a firing. Let's make this very clear. Verona fired Radostin Stoychev after one match of a playoff series, in the middle of a playoff series. To me, Everett, because he was already known to be gone after the season anyway, firing him now means that something serious was going on.
Well, I think we talked about it last week. Here's my thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a world where he didn't get fired, where basically he was going to, but essentially ownership was like, we want you to run this lineup this weekend. And he said, no, I'm the coach. And he's like, all right, if you don't do this, we're going to fire you. And he's like, you don't fire me, I'm leaving. Like, that's what I think. If there's a scenario where he left the team, that's where I think the scenario is that he left the team. And remember, back to last week, this is what I said, is that I wasn't so sure that it wasn't just like actually just injury stuff with not having Keita or Mosic, like especially that Keita came in, that, you know, it must have actually been something because they hadn't fired him yet. Right. I completely take that back, because now he has been fired. Yeah. That to me, you know, to me, that it took so long is just Italian boomers. Yep. You know, they probably had too long of a lunch on Monday. Maybe, you know, Nonna was making lasagna on Tuesday, and then, so, you know, things had to go a little bit further.
Yeah, this happened last Thursday. So yes. That's the other crazy part, is that they had played their first game of the quarterfinals last week Sunday. Their next game in the quarterfinals was this past weekend, Sunday, and this went down the Thursday before that. So they wasted almost an entire week of preparation for a playoff game with a coach that was imminently going to be fired. Like, what? It's actually insane. I agree with you. The only reason that he did get fired now is because he was, I don't want to necessarily say sabotaging the team, but like that's pretty much the idea. He must have been making choices that were not in the best interest of this year's Verona team, this season's Verona team. If otherwise they would have let him ride out the rest 100%. Of the year.
100%. I think I really think that something must have happened between Keita and Mosic, kind of behind doors. Not Mosic, sorry. Stoychev.
Stoychev.
Because, yeah, like he came in and played, you know, the entirety of the match this time. However, I will say that I don't know how much I believe in this team without the Rock out there. Like
I agree.
I don't know. Like Jordan Ewart got clamped on real quick. He got subbed out. Like they had to go with Mads Kid Jensen,
and they put Kate on the left side in the third set. So
yeah.
they got donged by Piacenza over the weekend, and now Verona's next season is in the balance if they don't complete a reverse sweep in the series. And to me, it looks hopeless.
Unless like if the Rock Mosic is not in that starting lineup,
it's over.
On the weekend, it's over.
It's over.
I don't, especially with this Piacenza team. Like this is like Piacenza team is maybe a looser version of Halkbank. You know, you have the same type of dudes who can smell the blood in the water and go for it.
Yeah, they have players of that pedigree for sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty ridiculous to me, Everett, that that Piacenza comes out of this particular series matchup looking like the model franchise. How do you out-stooge Piacenza on the franchise level?
Because Piacenza already fired their coach. They're already past that.
That's a great point,
right? Like they've already fired their coach. They're already past that. But you know what? This match, I think, really started to show what Piacenza can be. Like if you look at the stats on this one, only 6 errors all around for this Piacenza team. They were cooking 9 aces to 12 errors for this Piacenza team. That is diabolical.
It's amazing.
Add 7 blocks to that. Right. So you're just dominating in every facet of the game. Keita was the only one who could keep up. He also had 5 aces. That's ridiculous. I didn't see that.
I feel so bad for him, man. I feel so bad for him. He put together one of the great seasons of all time, and because of bad luck and tremendous incompetence, his team's probably going to flame out in the quarterfinals. And like we were talking about it before the playoffs started, that we wanted Namori Keita's amazing season to be like cemented into people's minds by a great playoff run, and that is being taken away from him like by things that aren't even in his control, and that sucks. That's just injustice.
But hey, we might have Micah Christensen and Darlin in the Challenge Cup next year, so
if Verona does in fact lose this quarterfinal series, which it looks like they will, and they have to go play that stupid 5th place playoff, there is not a single chance in the world that they win. No chance.
Depends.
Not with what that franchise is going through right now. There's no way.
We'll see. I don't know. Is the Rock staying next year?
I honestly have no idea, and I don't like projecting that anyway.
Yeah.
But it's dire. It's very, very dire for Verona right now.
They need at least one win.
Yeah,
they absolutely need at least one win.
They are at home this weekend, so
if Cisterna can get a win against Trentino, Verona needs at least one win.
Well, let's talk about that game.
What
a stunner that was. Honestly, I think I was watching the end of Lube Milano, which ended up being a donging because I was expecting that to be more interesting. Then I looked at the score and noticed that Cisterna was up 2-0 on Trentino in the 1-8 matchup.
Dude, Cisterna just has guys who have the ability to pop off. Like they have dudes who can pop off. Honest, like you're not going to get another Daniele Mazzone match where he goes 10 for 14 with 4 blocks.
You are not going to get that
like
again.
I think that this is just Trentino is, if I had to liken a Trentino energy, it would be a really good, really skilled accountant. You know, they're really good at what they do, but they don't have much personality doing it. Like they don't have much fire doing it. And oftentimes when we see Trentino kind of get pushed around, like they don't really do much about it. Like they don't really fight back, and it's weird. And it was like the same vibe that I got when watching back the replay of today's game too, where they just get into these modes where they're just so heavily reliant on Micheletto and just expecting him to be the best player in the world to get him out. And I thought that was exactly what this one was too. Like Micheletto has 25. He's 21 for 36.
Absolutely untouchable. 4 aces, like, come on.
And then other than that, you just get dog shit. Lavia's 9 for 23. Not good enough.
Lavia's got to wake up in a big way, man. He really does.
Rich Licky, 15 for 29, not terrible, but he has 7 errors on that, right? Like, if you're rocking a 25% efficiency as an opposite in this situation, it's not going to be good.
And then he missed half his serves with 0 aces. Like that. I mean, Tricycle Man has always been the definition of an NPC opposite to me. You guys all know how I feel about him, but I'm not going to sit here and claim that Gabi Garcia Fernandez is the answer. He's played well in spots this year, but like, if you start him, like, Cisterna's probably licking their chops at that matchup. Like, Trentino needs, it's not even anything tactical. I agree with you. It has to be something between the ears, or some level of motivation that they just need to wake up a little bit. Like, and I'm actually concerned about them, because it feels to me like what we saw when they went to Brazil and got beat by Sada Cruzeiro. They went to Turkey, they got beat by Ziraat Bank today. Like, they're too good of a club to be like overlooking these games. But it's something about like the requisite level of intensity to play elite volleyball is just not there. And I don't know how to fix that necessarily.
Someone just said it in the chat too. They're like, they have no bench, and where do they go into Magdaleni? Whoever said that, put your hand up. But you're really right. Like, this is just,
they have 3 middles.
Trentino to me is the club personification of their national team, right? Where you're going to be real steady and you're going to be real good all overall, but you're just missing a little bit of edge. You're missing that passion, that person who's Italian, not Italian.
We're talking like Southern Italian. We're not talking Northern Italian.
Like, we need a little bit of like Zaitsev edge.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Trentino is way too Northern Italian, which they are. They might be the northernmost team in the SuperLega. They need more Southern Italian fire. I think that might be part of it.
Yeah, they need a little bit more of something. Get a little bit of spice in there.
Yeah, I do want to give Cisterna credit though. They played awesome at home over the weekend.
Gabi Garcia is Puerto Rican. Not too many spices over in Puerto Rican. A lot of good plantains and shit, but no spices.
Yeah, so like, you get Teo 4, 17 for 30, 50% efficiency, which is amazing. You get generally good serving, generally low error rate. Like, Michele Baranovic is like the perfect guy to set an 8 seed in the playoffs, because he's never going to lose you a game. Daniele Mazzone randomly turned back the clock and popped off. Like that. Yeah, you're right. It's not going to happen again for Cisterna, but no. I hope, for Trentino's sake of maybe winning the Scudetto, that they wake up after the week that they just had, and we'll see if they do.
The only other game that I want to talk about, and not even talk about, I just want to touch on slightly, and I want to do this by giving an apology to Adis Lagumja, because I said after game 1 that they couldn't win with him, and I was very wrong.
Yeah, he
absolutely
automatic.
He was automatic in this one. I mean, I do think that there is 16 for 22 with only 1 error is ridiculous.
That's absurd.
19 points, disgusting performance. And like I said, I thought he did a great job today. I thought he was making little plays that maybe when he wasn't the focal of the offense, that he was making little plays that mattered. And his ability to set the block is really good too. But on the other side of the net, you had an absolute dog shit, horse shit mat from Luati, who was almost untouchable for them in game 1, kind of all over the court, got aced 4 times, got blocked 4 times, and only got 4 kills. So that was really bad. And then Riegers just couldn't carry the load. Only 9 points. Not one player from Milano got into the double digits.
Ferry Riegers not scoring double digits is that's all you need to see right there. That's so rare and so crazy. And also 0 aces to 18 errors from Milano. Absolutely atrocious. Just did not get off the bus. This was never a match, even in the slightest. And
they blew their load on the first match
a little bit,
and they have not been able to recover since.
Not yet. Another team who I think we can put in the grave at this point is Modena. Modena did their best to make this a series with Perugia for at least a little bit, but honestly, now especially well, I think the thing I want to talk about is I don't know the details, but I heard that DeCecco got hurt, and I heard that they assuming that they lose this match this weekend to Perugia, that they'll shut him down for the 5th place playoffs, and like his season will be over. And he announced that he's not playing for Argentina this summer. So like we're not going to see Checo for a little while.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how many people don't really understand that like the big players aren't going to be playing VNL this year.
Yeah,
like I've been hearing some panic like Ishikawa might not play VNL, and it's like, yeah, he shouldn't.
He shouldn't.
He shouldn't play VNL.
Very much hope for his sake that he does not play VNL this year.
Yeah. So
he's getting plenty of rest sitting the bench on Perugia right now because Ole Plotnitsky is a top 5 outside hitter on the planet at the very least. Yeah. And Kamil Semeniuk is doing a good supporting job, and Ishikawa's services lately have not been required.
Yeah, no. All right, that's pretty much it from SuperLega, right? Anything else to chat about?
What are your quick predictions for this weekend?
Trentino's going to win 3-0. Perugia is going to win 3-0.
I agree.
Lube is going to win 3-1.
Okay.
And Verona is going to win 3-2.
I also think Verona wins this weekend, and I just desperately hope that we get a little bit more out of that series. Otherwise, I would be depressed.
Yep. Moving over to Les Féminines, to La LegaVolley Femminile, where as of today, we are actually now done round 1. A few notable events from the weekend before we touch on. Actually, I actually thought that this weekend of LegaVolley Femminile was
super good.
Was actually really good.
Yeah.
You had 2 5-setters, and a really good, not upset, but a really good match to send it to 5. Let's start to send their series to 3. Let's start there with Chieri picking up the win over the weekend over Novara, a nice little 3-dong. Avi Skinner was fantastic, and a boys
Bausch is her last name. That man, Dutch is totally beyond me.
Yeah. She was outstanding, but then Novara jumping back today, getting that 5-set win to clinch out the series. I honestly, other than this, I did not watch this match today. I did not have enough time.
There were 4 matches going on today all at the same time. I was watching 3 of them. Like the one that I didn't really watch was Tours Resovia, but I intently watched Lube Lublin. I pretty intently watched Novara Chieri this match, and then I was like aware of JSW Olympiacos ended up being a donging. This was a really weird game between Novara and Chieri because sets 2 and 4 were never even remotely close. It was the back and forth of it was very weird because Chieri was.
I just saw the scores.
Yeah, it's gross. Like Chieri wins 1-3, 25-20, 25-20. Then they lay an egg and get doubled in set 2, 25-12. Set 4 was 21-12 before Chieri showed some life at the end, and then the 5th set was 15-6. So it was just a very weird game in that when Novara got hot, they got really super hot, and there was absolutely nothing Chieri could do about it. But you've brought it up a few times. This is the first Novara match I've watched intently in a little while. Mayu Ishikawa is balling. She is balling, and her off blocker defense is sick. Her backcourt defense is outstanding, but like she was carving off angles on offense today, man. Like every time I looked over and I saw Mayu Ishikawa doing something cool, I was impressed.
So there's a few things about this Novara team that's making me really watch them. First and foremost is that I've talked about it before, and like you have so many different options to go with in this lineup. With especially with the emergence of Taylor Mims, and you'll see that she came off the benches in sets 2 and 3, started the 4th. She still ends with 7 points, right? 7 for 15 attacking, which is pretty damn good. You know,
no errors.
Tatiana Tolok was one of the best attackers in the first half of the season. She's still out there balling. Mayu Ishikawa's been unreal. Same thing with Lena Alsmeyer. And if you look down to the bottom of the stat sheet, Rob St. Clair, look at who their second libero is. Getting ready. Vita Akamova is still on the bench with a potential timeline to be able to be back in these playoffs. So if if there's one team that I'm looking at the most looking into the next round, if there's one team that I think actually might be able to push Conegliano the most, it might be this Novara team, because they have so many different looks and so many different options to be able to handle it.
I love the options. We lost your headset again, by the way. Keep messing with it or something. But
fuck this shit.
There you go. You're back. I trust Conegliano of all teams to prepare for all those options. And they are going to see a lot of them. I know that they'll be well prepared, but I do think that the better team ended up winning this series. I was impressed by Chieri's emotional response to losing that Challenge Cup game. I thought that this series was over after that, but to their great credit, they played the match at home over the weekend and they won in a three-dong, and that showed me a lot about who they are, like who they are mentally and who their spirits are. But I do think that the better team won here, team with more firepower, just like slightly more polished volleyball players. And yeah, we'll see what Novara can do in the next round. But I predict that Chalk will hold and they'll finish fourth like they always do.
Oh, we'll see.
We will see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Those other couple series, though, you mentioned it. There were some good matches over the weekend, like 2 5-setters. Which one do you want to talk about first?
I want to start with Valfolia. Mostly just give a massive shout out to Simone Lee. She was outstanding in this entire season.
Team on her back is best.
Team on her back is the best way to put it. She had 24 points in this one, 24 for 39 with a block and 2 aces. That she was the reason why. And like if you look at like they're targeting her in serve receive, like she had 39 or 29 targets in serve receive, so they're going after her. She's passing well, and big shout out to Simone Lee for helping Valfolia push Milano to 5.
Yeah, huge credit. And I mean, Valfolia was up 2-1 in this match too. I think they should be proud of the way that they fought against a team that is much more talented than them. But you know who I want to shout out on the Milonza side? It's not even Paula Egonu. It's Hena Kurtagic.
Yo, she's
keep this girl name high on your mind. Yeah, dude. As far as young, awesome international middle blocker prospects, Hena Kurtagic of Serbia, 4 for 7 attacking and 8 stuff blocks in an advancement game in a big moment.
Kurtagic has been unreal.
Really good.
She might be she hands down is the best middle prospect in the world. I don't think that's even a stretch.
Ooh, yeah, I don't think it is either. Prospect, yeah. And she's like already ready to go, play damn well for a really good team. Dado in the chat, I know you know her. Tell us how old she is. 20. Thank you. 20 years, unreal.
I will ask you, Rob, with, there was an old guard of USA women's volleyball that was very, you knew what the players were going to be, right? And it was always the same type of people. And I mean, famously enough, I don't know if you might remember this, but essentially, Alexa Gray actually has dual citizenship and actually asked Karch if he saw any, and he was like, no.
I remember.
Simone Lee played for the national team up until 2019. She played for the women in 2019 when they won VNL, and they won the Rosica. She hasn't really appeared for the national team since then. With the incoming of Eric Sullivan and this new women's national team product, do you think they take a look at veteran players like Simone Lee? Do you just open it up and be like, baby, we want everyone to come in?
I do think that you do that, and I think that that's the right place to start as far as building the national team program for a new quad with a new staff. Is you need to take inventory, so to speak, of everything that's out there. Everything that's out there that you could possibly have at your disposal. You need to be aware, and you need to think long and hard about how those things might be able to help you accomplish goals this quad. And a veteran like Simone Lee, who's playing this well on a Scudetto playoff team, it would be very difficult for me to ignore that if I was Eric Sullivan.
And everyone in the chat, so people in the chat is saying that she stunk it up in 2019 and never got a shot. Sure, but
2019 was 6 years ago.
Hey, it was 6 years ago, and somebody was saying that she's not the best passer. Dude, she was passing at over 30% positive passing this year. She was in I think the top 10 of outside passers in the LVF this year. And I don't have my stats open for me, but she was a fantastic passer. She was straight up in the top 10
and getting a lot of targets now,
and getting a lot of targets.
The LegaVolley Feminile's reception stats are very suspect, but I have no concerns about Simone
Like
Lee.
she got more volume than Avery Skinner this year and has better numbers across the board. So and Avery Skinner was fantastic. So
she was an Olympic starter, an Olympic medalist.
Yeah, for sure. I think to me, that left side core, you have to look at Skinners, you have to look at the Laniers, you have to look at the Plummer, and I think you need to look at Simone Lee too.
I agree with you. The other 5-setter from the weekend in the women's league was even more dramatic, and that was Scandicci. They got by Busto Arsizio, but boy, was it not easy. Not only was this a reverse sweep, but Scandicci had to fight off 5 match points in the 5th and to win that 5th set 22-20. So that was as good as a first round of a playoff match can possibly be. And I give Busto Arsizio a huge amount of credit. I think they did themselves super proud. But it is Scandicci that goes on the shoulders of 32.
Yikes.
For the MVP, Katarina Andropova.
But also this stat sheet, didn't watch this match, by the way, just for disclaimer. This stat sheet is one of the most interesting stat sheets. On the Scandicci side, you have 5 different players in double digits. Even in the middle, Nwakalora and Anna Carolina both have 11 points. 3 blocks and 4 blocks apiece, respectively. That's gnarly. But then you go up to Busto is 3 different players hitting 20.
Yeah, it's insane.
Right?
All 3 wings. It's nuts.
And I don't know one of them. So it's just, to me, it's just one of those matches where your randoms really pop off. Who's Laura Kunzler?
I have no idea who Laura Kunzler is. I think I've seen Josefina Bosso, their opposite, play a little bit before. Same thing with Piva. I think she's regarded amongst Italian outside hitters, but I won't claim to know that much about this roster. But yeah, I mean, all 3 wings in the 20s is pretty gnarly. Yeah, Carla in the chat says Piva has serious national team potential, and then a game like this puts her up there for sure. I mean, if you drop 25 in a playoff game against a good team, 23 for 41 too on offense is absurd. So a name to keep an eye on for me, because I didn't know who she was.
Yeah, no.
Obviously, we do not need to talk about the details of Conegliano winning, but I want to talk about 2 achievements. The first is that Isabel Haak set the Conegliano franchise record for points scored, which is amazing because she hasn't even been. I think she's been there for 3 seasons after coming over from VakıfBank. So to that quickly gain that record for that franchise is really amazing. But the more amazing record is Monica De Gennaro setting the all-time LegaVolley Femminile league record for matches played. And that is longevity at its very, very finest. And that is a really big deal. And congratulations to Moki. She's awesome.
So on the Conegliano side of things, the thing is with that their club is that they've been around actually for a decent one. I'm trying to see when they got into league. Oh, they've only been around since 2012.
Okay.
So it's not a club that's been there for a long time. And looking at it, they haven't really had many people who they've had people who stayed for the long time, but especially not
they're
in the
setters and middles and liberos. But yeah. But Isabel Haak is a monster, and Monica De Gennaro playing that many games is incredible. So congratulations to them. They've got their sights set on the semifinals against Novara and a potentially perfect season because they're that good.
Actually, it is impressive because she has as many years with Conegliano as Agono did. They're both at 3.
Oh, okay.
So that is a good kind
benchmark.
of benchmark. So, and I mean, we could really go into how deep. It's crazy how much she's scored. And then if you look at the numbers of Zhu and Gabi and Conegliano, this is the best team ever. The best team ever.
They're so good.
Where do they finish in the VNL?
High. They finished really, really high. That I think that team could win VNL. They have a top 4 opposite.
And see, like if this would be
setter, they have the best
content idea. This would be such good content idea if there was a volleyball video game and we could do this. And like we could do a VNL and like sub out Korea for Conegliano.
That would be sick. Great idea for the volleyball video game that we will never ever get.
Never get.
Let's talk about Poland, Everett, because we have this weekend, or actually it's not even this weekend, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow is exactly what we wanted. We have a head-to-head relegation game. Barkom Lviv versus Stal Nissa
is already tomorrow?
It's tomorrow.
Fuck me.
Barkom Lviv against Stal Nissa is tomorrow, Thursday, March 20th. And if Nissa takes 2 sets, they survive.
Yes.
Any other result, Barkom Lviv survives. I love this. I cannot wait to watch this game.
Yeah, I mean it'll be a garbage game, but it's going to be exciting.
It's going to be a great garbage game.
there's a lot of stuff actually going down. Actually, scratch that. There's not that much actually going down.
Yeah, it's the last week of the regular season. The 8 playoff teams are set. The only other game I'm interested in is Norvid versus Skra, because they play head to head, and the winner almost definitely gets the 7 seed.
Yeah, if Skra wins 2 sets, then they get the 7 seed.
And then Zawiercie plays JW, but like honestly, if I were those 2 teams, especially because they're going to see each other in Champions League, I would play the benches if I were them.
JW, as soon as they won 2 sets against Lublin over the weekend, they pulled everyone.
Right.
They as soon as they won 2 sets, like they had the bench out there. Ken Zawiercie, see, for Zawiercie, this match actually means something because it will matter for home court advantage in the like I think for Zawiercie, you're not sitting people in this one. Absolutely no way. You're playing for home court advantage, but B, you're playing to not play Resovia. And Resovia is the hottest team in volleyball right now.
So
there's no way I want to play Resovia.
That's a good point, but the problem is that Warszawa plays Suwałki, and they're tied in points. And if Warszawa and Zawiercie stay tied in points, Warszawa wins the tiebreaker on match win record. So like, even if Zawiercie beats JW's bench, they need Suwałki to take a point. And why would they? Like, why would that happen? Because Warszawa still has the same stakes.
Yeah, but Zawiercie is going to have to do it regardless because they play earlier.
Okay.
Right, because they play earlier in the day. Like they play the early match on Saturday, and then that Warszawa Suwałki match is the late match. I want to see the PlusLiga switch those 2.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Just because, but who knows? But because maybe Warszawa needs to hey, maybe they're all heartbroken after losing in Champions League.
Yeah, they could be.
So that's going to be the big one. Other than that, like I think. Probably won't watch too much PlusLiga this weekend just because like we're gearing down for the end of the season, and I'm excited for the playoffs.
Yeah, the other 2 games that I wanted to point out, one was Warszawa beats Skra, and that could be a potential playoff matchup. So Warszawa looked good in that one. The other was Zaksa versus Resovia, and Resovia kept the win streak going with a reverse sweep, 15-9 in the 5th, and an all-time PlusLiga record. The most kills ever in the history of the PlusLiga in a match, 37 by Stefan Boyer. 39 points total.
I didn't know that was a record.
37 is the all-time most kills in a match in the history of the Polish Volleyball League. 37.
Yeah. That is ridiculous.
Good for him. Hottest player on the planet.
Yeah. Love to see that.
So mark your calendars for tomorrow. It is at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's what, 7:30 local? No, 5:30 local, kind of like an evening game. Barkom versus Stal Nissa relegation game.
Love it.
I love it too. I'm so excited. I love relegation.
Yeah, is that all I'm fading fast here.
I know. I'm fading too. Please give credit really quickly to the uSport national champion Manitoba Bisons. Because I actually watched this final.
It was a fire final. It was a really good job. Shout out to my boy Jared Brown, who did a lot of commentary and then was doing the sideline reporting for this one. Just one of the absolute beauties in Canadian volleyball. I know he's going through a lot right now, so I want him to know that I'm thinking about him. But this one was incredible. I honestly thought the entire national championships was really good. And you know what? I rarely have the ability to sit down and watch nationals, and especially on the women's side, because I'm usually at the men's and they're usually at the same time. So I never get the opportunity. And you know what? I loved what I saw. I thought the Montreal versus McMaster match on Friday night was baller. Like, I really want to give a massive shout out to the Montreal Carabin. Like, for you to come through, you take down the winner of the OUA in that 4-5 match. You get it done. You get it done in the semifinals too, against the Alberta Pandas.
That one will always get you.
I almost called them the Golden Bears. Fuck. You know, and like that's one of the premier programs in Canada. And yeah, just a massive shout out to that Montreal program. People show, I feel like, and I have definitely been bad at this too, at sometimes showing a little bit of disrespect to the RSEQ, or the RSEC, as that one commentator was calling it this weekend, and it was just killing me. But I think that like a lot of credit has to go to Montreal for getting there. But ultimately, man, this Manitoba team was really something else. Raya Cernix she continues to surpass my expectations, and I'm not entirely sure where she fits within the Canadian system, but I want to see her. I was about to ask. I really, because like, bro, she's playing on a right side that's real crowded right now. And as much as I love the way Cernix plays, like, she plays a uSports style of ball. Like, she's a smaller outside, or like smaller in relative terms, like a Kira Van Ryk, or a what's her face, the really tall girl who just came from Wisconsin. Schmreck? Yeah, Schmreck. Right? Like, Schmreck is basically like 6'10". So I don't know where she fits in this, but I just love her tenacity. She had 23 kills in this one. uSports still does the archaic half point for a block, for a block.
Like, block is the same way. It's really stupid.
But yeah, just big shout out to Manitoba. You upset.
Don't ever think that home crowds don't matter in volleyball, y'all, especially at the university level. Though that crowd was going nuts for the final. That is such a big deal. And so, is Brandon in on the men's side this weekend?
Yeah. So the way it works in uSports is, if you're the host, you play.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was why Sask got the spot here for the women, because Manitoba was ranked higher than them. I don't know. I can't really remember. I honestly didn't watch too much uSports, but I did watch this weekend. I loved watching it. It was great stuff. Just big, like, my dad went to the University of Manitoba. I was like born in Manitoba while he went there, so I spent a lot of time there as a child. So whenever they do well, it feels good. I like to see them. Big shout out to the Bisons. I hate to pay homers, but I do have a Bison sweater that I was wearing during this match. And
university pride never hurt anyone.
I never went to that university, but it was my dad's sweater. I was had it around. I was like, I'm gonna wear this. Maybe give them a little bit good luck. But shout out.
The Canadian university system needs more of that. Y'all need more university.
I will point out that this weekend on CBCSports.ca, on their YouTube channel, you had the ability to watch women's volleyball. You had the ability to watch women's volleyball, men's and women's basketball, and I think another hockey. And women's volleyball once again blew the lights out in terms of numbers compared to
love it
else. So you're seeing it like uSports women's volleyball is such an underrated product. And then moving forward to what I think is an even bigger underrated product, the men's uSports championship. Do we have a bracket for this one, Rob?
No, I just saw that it got posted, but you already previewed the teams really well last week. I don't think we should go into it, but it's number 1 Winnipeg versus number 8 Brandon, number 2 Sherbrooke versus number 7 Western, number 3 Alberta versus number 6 Windsor, and then number 4 Queens versus number 5 Sask.
Okay. Now that I see I need to do a little bit of break it down on that, because I think that 1-8 matchup is going to be fucking bonkers.
In Brandon.
Like, you're talking about in Brandon, which has to be one of the best home crowds in Canadian volleyball, no hands down, against a Winnipeg team who's like just a few hours away. That is going to be one loud gym. I absolutely love it. Other than that, the early matches are chalk. The only thing that I will say is that I know that Windsor was it Windsor? Was it Toronto? There is a history of OUA teams putting a scare into Alberta in the first round. That one is one that I'll watch with half an eye. No offense to Western, I don't think if they have a shot and chance against Sherbrooke. Like that Sherbrooke team, they're going for a third straight final, right?
And all of those dudes are 27 years old.
Yeah, they're all like, they have kids at home. Like they're all ancient. They're all like, I played them in club. That's how old they are. No,
that's ridiculous.
No, not that.
I wish that was true.
I'm completely joking. I'm 33 years old, guys. But I do think that Sask Queens match at 8 p.m. is going to be a fucking banger, and you bet your ass that I'm going to be watching that one. Shit, it is a Friday night. It's gonna be. We'll see. But
I will not be watching that one. My band is playing a show on Friday. I will be
sexy. But I do think that like Queens is a scrappy team. Like, yeah, like Queens is a scrappy team. I love the way they play. Two of my favorite coaches. I'm going in this one too.
Everett, I can't let you get down the rabbit hole of your Canadian volleyball buddies. Pick me a national champion.
Fuck. My heart wants to go with my guy Chris Voth. My heart wants to go with my guy Chris Voth leading into his first national champion.
The coach of who?
He's the coach of Winnipeg.
Okay.
Sorry. However, there's no way in hell I'm betting against Alberta Golden Bears.
Isaac Heslinga.
Other than the setter, it's the exact same team as last year.
Yeah.
Other than Sam Drybro, it's the exact same team. You have Espedito, you have Heslinga, right? Like you have Sargent. Like this there's no one like Heslinga, other than maybe Moni Nikolov, is the best player in North America right now. Like on the men's side.
I know that Heslinga is damn good and I'm impressed with him, but that is quite a statement.
No, not at all. Like he was last year too. And like the head and heels, like the head and shoulders he is above all of the American guys at the B team level. Just proves it. Like I think he just comes from like a little bit of like slightly pre-COVID.
Yeah, he's older. Heslinga is really good. I would probably pick Alberta with my very, very limited knowledge too. But another guy I want to put on your radar as a segue is the man in this photo here. Did you see the walking highlight reel that was Dillon Klein of USC over the weekend?
Holy fuck.
You saw the two inside balls that he bounced and then the bick that he facialed the kid?
That bick too. Like I'm pretty sure it's Nakoba who got it perfectly.
Yeah, Nakoba was there back at home on the island. Shout out to him.
That dude is so chill. He might be ripping bong hits on his way up.
About how high up in the air he is?
No, but like it's just like sometimes when you see players like as an athlete, you're the most efficient when you're relaxed, right? And you know, sometimes you see guys and they go up and they've got the face and then like they're swinging hard. That dude was like, it was up, he was here, no emotion, slow, bam, just quick arm swing. Like that dude is unreal. Like that is an offensive talent that like, whoo-wee.
It's got a lot of American fans talking this week about how good Dillon Klein could maybe be, but I think he can. I will say, if you guys haven't seen the clip, the inside ball that he bounced from the left side against Penn State over the weekend is the best NCAA swing I have ever seen. It is the best NCAA swing that I have ever seen.
Yeah, the one that he like against Penn State where he goes inside and it lands in the dude's lap.
It lands in the off blocker's lap who's 2 feet off the net. And I wish he hadn't been there so we could have seen how high that ball bounced. Could have touched the roof of the stand off the ground.
I need to go back and watch it, to be honest.
It's it's unbelievable. So shout out to Dillon Klein, and USC does move up to 3rd in the national rankings after beating Hawaii in Hawaii, which is a damn hard thing to do. And I really like USC. I think they're really, really good. They're the best blocking team in the country. They're well-rounded. They have every position. Their opposite has been a bit of a revolving. Ooh, I can't say that. A revolving door. But they have this guy, Jack Duker, who's from Hawaii and who played in Hawaii over the weekend. It was great. So shout out to the Trojans. It's been the last relevant USC team that I remember was when Micah Christensen was playing for them. So it's about time that program is good again.
They had Micah, and they had the McKibbins. And
Murphy Troy was one generation. And then Micah and Tony Chiarelli was the next generation.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Sorry, I just got sent a gnarly clip from the Brazilian league where a setter sets from his ass.
I might have seen that clip. No, I saw one crazy.
It just happened.
Never mind.
It's from a game that's happening right now.
Okay, there was one crazy rally in Brazil that I saw over the weekend that was cool. All right, enough of this. We need to get out of here. This is a crazy long show, crazy long week. Thank you all for dealing with our slow issues getting started. Join the Volleyball Source Discord. Links in the description. It's the best online volleyball chat community in the world. You can go into all of these tournaments, these matches, these storylines that we're talking about with people who, in many cases, know it better than we do. So definitely get in there, be a part of our community, and we will see you at some point next week after a bunch more banger volleyball games. Everett, anything else?
No, sorry. I was just looking at Brazilian clips that are being sent to me.
All right, let's get out of here.
Adios. Yeah, I'm hungry. It's 8:30 here. Bye.